Unleashing the werecat. Sarah did not quite feel like herself. She tried to fit in and get along with other people in school, but it was difficult for her and not working out. She would try to make friends and talk to people, but she just felt awkward. She could feel their eyes constantly moving over her as well as hear the whispers from all around. At home, she would stare at herself in front of a mirror for hours. If she saw just a minor scratch or scar on her face or her body, anything really, that she did not feel was beautiful, her imagination would take her for this wild ride. A small blemish, and she would feel as though her entire face was covered in scars. One blemish, and she would see herself as the ugliest girl in the world. Sarah began to hide these parts. At first, it was just wearing her hair a different way, down on one side, covering parts of her face, wearing a hat, just little things like that, and she would hide behind. Then, as they continued, she would start to push these feelings down and hold them within herself. She would put this fake smile on when she walked into school. She would put on an act as if everything was okay. Sarah was starting to become and act like somebody totally different in public. It even got so bad that she would basically come in wearing a mask of somebody totally different. The real Sarah would be locked away inside, and this person she was wearing today is cool and liked by other people and everybody else in the school. It was all working for a while, but her true self started to fester and started eating away at her insides, begging to come out, begging to be released. But she couldn't stop. She really didn't know how. She also didn't really know who she was anymore. She's been wearing this mask for so long that it literally fused to her face and it would be tough to remove. One night, Sarah went outside and just laid on the ground staring up at the stars. The moon was rising and it was shining so bright. Her eyes locked onto it and they filled with white. Her memories of childhood came flooding back to her. Her memories of her family filled her mind. Images of her dancing around alone. Others of her sitting on a carpet coloring pictures in an activity book. Thoughts of her being silly and goofy just for the fun of it. Her true self is playing movies in her mind. The mask she's wearing begins to melt off her face. She begins to remember who she is, and for the first time, she really starts to embrace it and to love it. Sarah's eyes grow even wilder as the moon rises to its full position. Her mouth drops open and then lets out a terrifying scream. She squints her eyes as the pain rises in her back like her spine is trying to jump out. Then her ears start to feel like they are growing and being tugged, or like someone is trying to pull them off. She puts her hands over her ears to comfort them, but also to block out the sounds she begins to hear. The sounds all around are growing louder. The crickets are chirping. The owls are hooting. Covering her ears is no use. The sounds are still getting in. Her nose starts to itch, and then a pain comes in as she watches her nose and mouth start to stretch forward from the inside. Muscle spasms start to happen all over, a jerk here and a jerk there. Her whole body is in pain now as she drops to the ground. Curled up in a fetal position, she holds on as her body twitches and shakes. And then, just like that, it all stops, all at once. Sarah lays there confused, but also happy that it seems to be over. Her face, her entire body really feels weird, like she's changed completely. She slowly starts to stand up and goes to pull a mirror out of her bag. She opens it up to look at herself, and the reflection in the mirror shocks her, but also somehow comforts her, like she is surprised, but not in a total shock and freaking out. "I have missed you," she says to her reflection. She stares at her big green eyes and her pink nose, the orange furry face with black stripes. She reaches up to touch her big long ears, which now stick up on top of her head. Then she smiles into her mirror to check out her big white shining teeth. "I am so glad you are back to being you," her reflection tells her. "Don't ever forget who you are. You are special and one of a kind. Be proud of your differences and embrace them." Thank you all so much for taking the time and listening, and I hope you guys have enjoyed it. This is one of those short stories that I created inspired by one of my sculptures. In the future, I will definitely like to incorporate a little bit more of this and share more of the stories that I have either just sculpted a character for, or even gone in and done the ones that I've written short stories for and try to bring those a little bit more to life. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed. Please leave a comment, let me know what you think. And then also go over to my Patreon page and check that out and help to support some more of these videos so that I can keep creating these to inspire creativity. And it also helps me to keep reaching out to new little heroes and supporting them. Thank you so much for listening. Have an awesome week.